161 Years of Alice, let's see how the adaptations line up.
I'm afraid the more and more and more and more I go down the rabbit hole, the more and more worse it gets.
Lewis Carroll started telling stories to a friend of his daughter's named Alice, and he would eventually start putting Alice's names into those stories until finally in 1865 we got the iconic Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. After each interpretation that I talk about, I will say whether I think it is a faithful adaptation or whether it should be scrapped. Now, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is exactly as it says it is. It's an adventure into a strange and unknown reality that works really well when paired with the curiosity of a character like Alice. She likes to play pretend and play along with the whole entire madness of it all. A quote, "She generally gave herself good advice, though she very seldom followed it. And sometimes she scolded herself so severely as to bring tears into her eyes. Once she remembered trying to box her own ears for having cheated herself in a game of croquet she was playing against herself. For this curious child was very fond of pretending to be two people." I found it something relatable because a lot of people are really hard on themselves, even kids, and that's something that I think everyone should remember. As well as she is fond of being two people. She likes playing pretend. It shows the imagination of Alice in playing two different people. And what use is a book without pictures or conversations? Well, this book, in fact, has both. This book has beautifully bizarre illustrations by John Tunnell. I really hope I'm saying that right. It has absurd illustrations such as Alice with an absurdly long neck, and lots of silly creature illustrations like Old Father William on his head, a frog at the door, the Mad Hatter himself, and these all drive home the strange and bizarre world building of this book. And that's what this book is. It is a world building book. It doesn't really follow a specific story structure. She meets this person, then she meets the next person, then, eventually she wants to go home. And then she wakes up, and it's a dream. With its curiosity and creativeness, it's not an interpretation, so it's an approved. Lewis Carroll's first book must have been popular enough to warrant a sequel, because not too long after that, in 1871, came Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found There, introducing a new and different world that is not Wonderland. In fact, this book does not take place in Wonderland, as far as I can tell. To be honest with you, it wasn't as interesting as the first book, and I kind of didn't finish it as of the time of recording. Introducing a new and different world known as the Looking Glass House. It starts in the Looking Glass House, and then they go outside and they meet flowers that talk, kings and queens, and apparently Humpty Dumpty, which is the first depiction, supposedly, of Humpty Dumpty as an egg. I don't know what that means, but sure. The thing that's most peculiar about this book is the fact that in the beginning, it says, "White pawn, Alice to play and win in 11 moves," followed by things that Alice does and a page number. Throughout the whole second book, a game of chess is being played, with Alice starting as the pawn, and by the end of the book, she becomes a queen, getting her back home. Now, author Lewis Carroll also loved his own books, in fact, so much so that he wanted to make it into a musical. He didn't specifically write this musical, but he snuck in a letter or two over to a few friends of his, and eventually, in 1886, Alice in Wonderland, A Dream Play for Children was created. Now, this musical supposedly takes from both the first and the second book. I didn't look into it too much, and obviously I couldn't see it myself because they're not doing this version of the musical anymore. So I'm just gonna take Lewis Carroll's word on it that it is fairly accurate to the books. It's an approved. The adaptations for this book move fairly quickly when in 1903, the first film for Alice in Wonderland was made. The old footage, when it was found, was damaged. But luckily, by the British Film Institute, it was also restored. Supposedly, it was supposed to be a 12-minute long film, but it was cut down to, I believe, around 9 minutes, just due to the fact that we couldn't recover all of the footage. But from the footage that we can recover, it looks like the first Alice in Wonderland movie adaptation. That's all I could say about that. It's not bad. I mean, it looks all right. I watched as much as they have on YouTube. And by the way, the British Film Institute has a lot of archival footage on YouTube. And if you want to check it out, I will put it in the description below. Now, the effects, the costumes, and the world honestly are pretty good for this time. The rabbit hole that they have is honestly claustrophobic looking, and the shrinking and growing effects are done pretty well, which is incredible because I've seen some of the adaptations after this, and they don't always do as good of a job as this one. But looking at the characters in this adaptation alongside the characters illustrated by John Tennell, you can see the resemblance. And I think it translates in the costumes fairly well. It is a little bit strange. The Cheshire Cat is just a cat, and honestly, love that. This movie will forever be in film history as the first Alice in Wonderland. I'll give it a thumbs up. It did pretty good for the first adaptation. Now, there was a few films after that that did basically the same thing as that 1903 film. Then came along Disney. Now, Walt wanted his own version of Alice. He kind of did it. Starting in 1923, Walt Disney wanted his own interpretation of Alice in Wonderland, and he did so in the most 1920 ways possible. Walt's first version of Alice would be in the form of Alice comedies. It would be part live action, part animated comedy shorts featuring Alice going into a wonderland of sorts. It's mostly a 1920 style thing, and apparently a lot of the jokes didn't age well. I've only watched the first episode where she goes into the drawings that they're making, and the drawings come to life, and that's kind of just what happens in all the episodes. But it's a thing of its time. It's not really related to Alice in Wonderland other than the creativity of she goes into a new world and then shenanigans happen, which honestly, that's cartoons for you. So Alice comedies, I kind of don't want to give it a faithful adaptation. It's not really madness. It's just kind of silly 20s cartoons. So with that being said, I'm gonna say scrap it. Not a faithful adaptation. Next, before we get on to the one that everyone wants to hear about, I wanted to briefly mention that Alice in Wonderland adaptations are getting higher and higher budgets, and that is showcased with Alice in Wonderland 1933. Now, Alice in Wonderland 1933, the sets look incredible, and there's even some really, really fun animation in there. But what is this nightmare fuel? Why do they look like that?
It's bigger than a chicken. Why,
Why do they look like that? No. No, 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 no. Listen, in 1903, sure, I can tell you have a higher budget. And you're telling me no one stopped to think about it and go, you know, maybe we should change that. I didn't want to watch this one. So I didn't. Even though the characters are nightmare fuel, it seemingly goes along with the book. And with that being said, scrap it. Nightmare fuel. Don't like it. Get rid of it. There's other adaptations that are better. Moving on.
the time! Who's got the time? No, 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 no. No time, no time, no time. Hello.
Disney's Alice in Wonderland 1951. This is the classic that everyone knows. But apparently, when it came out, it was an absolute failure. People thought that Disney was off the rails with this one. That it didn't have a structure. They didn't like the fact that it was just plain strange. And that's the whole point. That's the whole point of Alice in Wonderland. The box office for this movie only made $1,261. Now, for the times you might be thinking, maybe it's a little bit, you know, the inflation, whatever. No. Let me tell you two other popular movies that came out around the same time. 1952 Singing in the Rain got that's a lot of money. 1952 Singing in the Rain got $25,000. And a smaller movie that's still popular and relevant, 12 Angry Men, got $10,500. Disney's Alice in Wonderland only made $1,261. So yeah, as you can see, was a box office failure. And it wasn't until the re-releases in the 60s and 70s when this actually got popular. And then it got even more popular with its home releases on VHS. The characters are just as mad as they are in the books, and the colors and shadows and movement and unnatural and surreal tone, it really does it all justice in this adaptation, because that's something that the book itself couldn't do. And now is the classic that we all know and we all love. We do all love it. We all collectively love it. There's nothing else that's better than the 1951 Alice. But I guess we'll have to find out if there's anything better than this. Overall, the Disney classic is a very, very faithful adaptation, and it's absolutely beloved. So it gets an absolute approval. Alice in Wonderland 1966 was a Hanna-Barbera animated version. Now this was straight to TV, but I did want to talk about it because I find it interesting. This one takes a completely different direction and showcases the culture of the time. Alice goes into a 60s style TV instead of a looking glass or a rabbit hole. It has art style and dance of the times. And for some reason, it features Fred and Barney from the Flintstones. Advertising, I guess. Which also this version does. It does advertising with the characters. It's a neat look at the time. It's not really accurate to the book. It has like some characters like the Mad Hatter and the Cheshire Cat, but they don't really feel that mad. They just feel like happy-go-lucky cartoons, and it's like, sure, you know, it's fine. It's nonsense, but Alice is anyway, so overall the Hanna-Barbera one doesn't really do justice to any of the characters, or the vibes, or the world. It's fun, but it does not get the approval. It gets scrapped.
There was a time when meadow, grove, and stream, the earth, and every common sight, to me did seem apparelled in celestial light, the glory and the freshness of a dream.
Alice in Wonderland 1966. No, this is not the same Alice in Wonderland 1966. This is a live action version. And this one, we go back to black and white. And luckily, we've gotten rid of those absolutely terrifying, scary masks that people just, they hate them. They hate on them, and some of them aren't even that bad, but people hate on them. People don't like the masks, guys. All of the animal characters and any other characters that used to be animals or whatever, they're all just normal people now. And honestly, it's kind of funny to see just these normal people running around like crazy and being mad. Now, the directing for this movie is actually quite interesting. They make it so that it feels strange. And I say directing specifically because if you look at this shot,
I think the main problem is how we all get dry.
Alice is staring off into the distance while there's a group and conversation of adults just talking nonsense. And I find it just as intriguing as I found the book. I find it fairly fun and accurate how they incorporate the rhyming of the book into the movie on how they talk. Kind of makes everyone a little mad in this version. Alice talks very straight, and it's a contrast to how everyone talks, fairly normal, honestly, which I think kind of brings a nuance to Wonderland that we haven't seen in the books or in any adaptation yet. Overall, it gives a strange, familiar, yet new look at Alice. It gets an approval because it gets the strangeness and weirdness of the characters, the madness of the characters, and honestly, it's just really fun to see adults run around and be crazy. Honestly, what more could you ask for from an Alice in Wonderland adaptation? Absolutely approved. The Japanese anime of Alice in Wonderland. So the intro is great, but we can't play too much of it due to copyright reasons. The Japanese version of the intro, in my opinion, isn't as good. But I know it's also like a cultural difference. Now this one's a little bit different because instead of Alice going to chase a white rabbit herself, she has another imaginary friend, Benny Bunny, which is the nephew of the White Rabbit, and the nephew of the White Rabbit helps Alice navigate her way to Wonderland. In each episode, Alice goes from the real world to Wonderland and back to the real world, which is obviously a departure from the book where she is in the real world, goes to Wonderland, and then goes back to the real world at the very, very end of the book. So that's fun. Overall, this adaptation seems to follow exactly how it does in the book. In the real world, she's ridiculed and criticized.
Look what I've bought. Alice, what are you doing? Take that filthy hat off at once.
She needs to be proper in her times, because back in the day, they needed to make sure that they were able to recite poems and speak properly and all that jargon. And in the Wonderland world, it's supposed to be fun, nonsensical, and it seems to follow that. It has all the characters. While it's not that mad, I will say it's kind of fun. So I'm gonna give it an approval. Let's jump over to Alice in Wonderland 1985.
Wait, let me help you.
In my opinion, this is the most accurate version of Alice in Wonderland. It's cute, it's great, it's fun. The characters are odd, it's colorful. I don't know what it is about this version of Alice in Wonderland that just brings it so much charm. Now, this is a straight-to-TV CBS special that was 3 hours long, which is a really long special. In my opinion, it's a really long special, but it's for a purpose, because the first hour and a half is the first book, and then they flow directly into the second half, which is the second book. They do reuse sets from Wonderland to go into the Looking Glass Land, but they also have a little bit of new sets, and I find it really good. I think all the costumes look great, the actors do incredible, and the music is awesome.
Nonsense, nonsense, simply can't do without it.
Faithful, and it's great adaptation. Approve. Except for the Mad Hatter. The Mad Hatter's actor is really good, and they didn't cater the song to his acting, and the song's just like a basic musical song. What's up with that, guys? That's not cool. But let's move along. Approve. If you didn't know, it's the 80s, guys. We're playing video games. For video games, I'm not giving approval on thumbs up or thumbs down, because I'm not going to play all the games, but I will be playing Alice Madness Returns. So if you want to see that, stick around and subscribe. Alice in Wonderland's 1985 video game. It was for the computer.
It looks pretty old, but it also looks kind of fun. You get to talk to all the different characters, as well as get a whole bunch of different things that you can do with those characters, and they will respond with different things depending on which one you click. Not that I think that it'll actually give you a different outcome, but still, it's kind of neat.
Marching Maze in 1988, a Japanese game that was an arcade game. It was one of those stand-up arcade games.
It doesn't really look like Wonderland, but it does look like it would be a fun game.
Speaking of Wonderland, we have
Alice in Wonderland 1989.
It's not super intuitive,
So I'm just gonna keep going.
We'll find out that a lot of these games aren't super intuitive, so we're just gonna skip through. You'll see clips from the games, and I will say the names. Next, we have Alice, an interactive museum in 1991. This was a PC 3D point-and-click game. Then we got an adaptation of the Disney classic, Alice in Wonderland's 2000 video game for the Game Boy Color. Oh wow, doesn't that look exciting? And then we have one that's actually quite strange, because we don't seem to know a lot about it. We know that at some point it must have existed. It is American McGee's Alice in 2000. I was looking on the Wiki fan page, and what the Wiki fan page had was basically what the sequel of this game has. And there isn't a lot there, but apparently this was American McGee's Alice in 2000. If you guys know a lot about this game, let me know in the comments below. Alice in the Country of Hearts. It's a visual novel. It's a romance visual novel. I'm gonna tell you right now, not accurate to the source material. I didn't play it, I don't wanna play it. But there is a movie, and maybe I'll watch the movie. And speaking of movies,
Alice in Wonderland, What's the Matter with Hatter? What's the matter with Alice?
Why is she brown haired? And why do they look like that? I mean, it's animated. You could easily make her hair blonde if you wanted to. Definitely a cash grab. Scrap it. This version of Alice is known as Malice in Wonderland. And you might be thinking, that doesn't sound like Alice in Wonderland. Well, it's not Wonderland. At least not in the sense that we know. You see, this version takes a completely new direction, and honestly, I kinda love it. This version, instead of falling down a rabbit hole, gets hit by a car. And that's how she is not able to figure out who she is. Because even in the original version, and most of the versions that we've seen before, she doesn't really know who she is.
Nice one, Brittany.
That's not my name.
You don't know who you are. You don't know who you're not.
She kind of loses herself in Wonderland. That is not the case for the 1951 Disney version or the Japanese animated show. But in this version, they honestly take the source material and they do exactly what you'd want in an adaptation, except for the fact that they make it where all the characters are humans, just like the 1966 live action one. But this time they put them in a human world and they make it so that it is about underground drug deals. Okay, I know how it sounds. It sounds really bad, but actually they interpret the characters really, really well. All the characters are mad, all of it is quite nonsensical, and she's basically only trying to find out who she is, where she's going, and why everything is the way that it is. It really is nonsensical, and it has all of the madness that you'd want in an Alice feature. It has Whitey, which is the white rabbit, Pillar Cat, which is the caterpillar. He's just the high guy in a car that just steals Alice from a bus station, and honestly, kind of love it. This interpretation is so strange, but it works so well. And it's almost hard to encapsulate how well it works. It actually follows the source material almost to a T. It has its own rhymes and dialogue that's fun and kind of whimsical. It goes along the same path that Alice goes along, meets every single character at each point as she meets them in the books. It honestly is a faithful adaptation, and I approve it. How did this happen? How did a faithful adaptation come out of a movie about drugs and drug dealing? Why is this better than some of the ones that we've seen before? And why is this better than the one that we're about to see after? You know, the more and more that I research about Alice in Wonderland, the more and more I find more adaptations about Alice in Wonderland. And the more and more I have to talk about. And some of the things that I saw, I just had to cut out because it was either the same or it was fine. It's mediocre at best. And now we're here in the 2000s and things are just not okay. In 2010, Tim Burton had a stab at the Wonderland.
What is he doing?
Utterware.
Some people really liked it, and some people really didn't. I am in the boat of both liking it and not liking it at the same time. I really like Johnny Depp as the Mad Hatter.
Beautifully, Alice, I'd know you anywhere. I'd know him anywhere.
I really like the Queen of Hearts.
Someone has stolen Sweet My Toy!
I really don't like the amount of bad CGI that is in this movie. I really don't know if I like the way that Wonderland looks. I really don't like that Alice is the hero character and she is the one that is forsaken and foretold in the books of old, and she has to fight the Jabberwocky. Alice being a hero isn't really an issue. The issue is the fact that the characters all revolve around her. Alice in Wonderland is supposed to be nonsense. They don't really do that. Okay, so Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. It is very much a hero story, and all of the characters center around Alice, and that's just not how the book is. The book is Alice stumbles in, and Wonderland is Wonderland. That's how it is. The people go about their day. And I'm not saying the characters can't know Alice. Like, obviously, she's been there before. It feels like all the motives are centered towards Alice. Oh, Alice needs to do this. Oh, Alice needs to do that. I'm a helper for Alice. And overall, doesn't seem that right for an Alice in Wonderland adaptation. As well as Alice herself, she's kind of a snotty know-it-all, and I don't really like that. Overall, I think I'm gonna give the Tim Burton adaptation a thumbs down. After the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland, they made a Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland video game. Riveting stuff. But this video game that comes after that in 2011, Alice Madness Returns is honestly, in the most recent of years, in my opinion, the best adaptation that we've had so far. It takes the madness and fun of it and puts it into a horror story and works really, really well. Unlike Alice in Terrorland, get it away. Because unlike Alice in Terrorland, there's a lot of fun visuals, there's a lot of funny things that happen. It's just great. And I really hope I've been recording this whole time, because I realized I might not have hit the record button. Oh my goodness. I'm doing a gameplay and review of it. Come and join me when that appears on a date unknown, hopefully soon. The next one, I don't want to talk about, because I ended up watching the movie, and my goodness, throughout the movie, I didn't want to watch it.
Every child has a fairy born just for them. Tinker's Bell was born for you.
It's just a
It is probably the most boringest movie I've seen in a while. And it's called, what's it called? Is it called Come Away? Yeah, it's called Come Away. And trust me, I'd like to go far, far away from this movie because, well, it sucks. Nothing fun happens in it until way late in the movie. It is technically more a Peter Pan story, I think, than it is an Alice in Wonderland story, but it does have Alice. Alice goes into Wonderland, so I wanted to talk about it. But Alice doesn't go into Wonderland until like 17 minutes of the movie are left. There are characters from Wonderland that appear before that. It's more of a story about a family who needs help with not being posh and not being poor. Peter Pan helps out with the not being poor part by becoming a pirate, and Alice helps out with the fun, whimsical part. And then at the end, it's like, oh yeah, this is the origin of these characters, by the way. And it's kind of not good. I didn't think they needed an origin. I really don't care. Unless if the origin is super fun and necessary to tell. And this was neither. I'm literally going mad as these adaptations continue. What are we doing? What are we doing? Thumbs down. Scrap it.
Spices sing and butterflies.
They're called bread and butterflies. Not accurate, scrap it. Okay, but in all seriousness, this probably isn't accurate, and it really isn't geared towards me. And we saw Disney's last attempt, and that certainly wasn't accurate. Scrap it.
Forget everything you think you know of young Alice and her adventure in Wonderland.
So the next movie is Alice in Terrorland. And oh my goodness. What are we doing? What are we doing? Okay, so technically it's better than Come Away because it actually has Alice and a lot of the characters.
The Cheshire Ripper.
But
Why?
oh my goodness, why is she dumber than she was when she was 7 years old? I would say in the original book, Alice is fairly cautious, but you know, she's still a kid. She's still learning what things are, and she's still learning, you know, what Wonderland is. Fine. But in this one, she's my age. And after finding out that the rabbit killed a whole bunch of people by having them eat cake, the rabbit says, oh, you want to drink this? And she goes, yeah, sure, of course I want to drink that. Why would you drink that? That's the dumbest thing ever. Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. So basically in this one, Alice's parents die in a fire. Because she's still grieving, she's having delusions about different things. Are the delusions real? Are the delusions not real? We don't know. Is Grandma secretly evil? I don't know, because I didn't finish the movie. I didn't finish it. The movie is just stupid. At first it seems like it's gonna be a movie about grief. So I'm like, okay, she's gonna go through Wonderland and kind of realize about the grief and how to get over it. And then nothing happens, really. And then she's just stupid. She doesn't seem very curious on why things are going on. I don't know, it's just, it's an indie movie. And there's other horror indie movies of Alice, but this is the one that, you know, popped up as the most popular whenever I was looking into it. And I wasn't gonna watch all of them. I started watching this one, and it was so bad that I had to stop. There's nothing fun about this movie. There's nothing scary about this movie. So frankly, I'm just gonna tell you right now, if you couldn't have guessed, thumbs down, scrap it. Get it out of my sight. I mean, maybe we'll get better. There is a movie, and it hasn't officially released yet. It's only been in film festivals, and maybe that one's gonna be good. But I guess we'll have to see if it ever releases, because sometimes those films don't ever get released. So we've learned that Alice has had its good times and Alice has had its bad times. But as long as you had a good time, thanks for watching. And I hope you come back for Zack Attack.